Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us for a discussion of the Bank Secrecy Act, also referred to as Title 31, and how its success in fighting money laundering really needs to be a collaborative effort. Our speakers today are Joe and Adam Smith, who are well-known experts in the gaming industry on this topic. But before they get started, let me just cover a few housekeeping notes. If you have any questions during the session, just click on the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen to open a window where you can type them in. Our speakers will probably wait till the end to answer them all at once. This session is being recorded, and access to the recording and a copy of the slides will be provided by email at about this time tomorrow. Well, without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to Adam Smith to get us started. Take it away, Adam.
All right, thank you, Carla. Really appreciate it, and thanks everybody for joining in on us. Be a quick hour, or quick 50 minutes, quick hour, and then hopefully share some real good quality information with you guys. And then please, reach out afterwards if you have questions or want to take the next step. So first, I'll turn this over to Joe here shortly. I just want to mention our webinar series. So this is the first webinar in a series about 5, potentially 6 upcoming monthly webinars. Some of the topics here, we got sports betting, internal control considerations, big data and analytics, digital adoption, which is whether it's electronic payment forms, cashless gaming, and then upcoming new accounting standards. So definitely keep a lookout as these announcements are coming through. Some really great, relevant, and timely information that we'll be pushing through, and we'll try to make these hours go quick so that everybody can get a chance to see them and make them available to everybody. So, like I said, I'll turn this over to Joe. Just quickly, mention Joe's history. Many of you know Joe. I've come cross paths with Joe in the past, and certainly some this quick history is no surprise to any of you all. For those of you that don't know him as well, just quickly, Joe was the was the director of audits for NIGC from 1999 to 2011. During that time, for about 3 years, he was a member of the Bank Secrecy Act advisory group in Washington, D.C. He received a recognition from the FBI on a New York crime family, organized crime, and tribal gaming. And that was in 2006. Joe began his gaming career in about 1980 in Las Vegas, and worked in Las Vegas, the Gold Nugget, various other casinos with the Nevada Gambling Control Board, developing the first set of mix, and then in '95 went to work for the Grand Ronde Confederate Tribes of Oregon, and worked as the executive director of the Gaming Commission, establishing the first casino, the Spirit Mountain Casino there. So that's a quick rundown. Also just mention that Joe's speaking at the American Certified Fraud Examiners Conference in June. That's the global fraud conference, and it's June 21st to 23rd. So if you can participate in that electronically or virtually, that'd be great. So okay, and then of course, more information on this topic. You can go to the Indian Gaming Magazine website and read Joe's full article on this topic afterwards if you choose to. So with that, I will switch us over to Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, it's a pleasure having the opportunity to talk about the BSA, which is something I've kind of lived with for a couple of decades, and was involved in developing the first audit plan that the IRS uses to measure compliance, and so it's been. And I've also had some firsthand experience and seeing the benefits of the BSA to law enforcement and trying to identify and prosecute criminal activity. So anyway, the agenda for today is to talk about what is the section. And this topic is we're only talking about a very narrow subject within the BSA, which is section 314B, which allows for information sharing. So we're going to talk about what that is, what are the benefits associated with being a participant, who's eligible, what information can be shared, how to participate, and then in the end we'll have some questions. So, okay, good, Adam. So the section 314B originated from the Patriot Act, and it provides for financial institutions to share information pertaining to money laundering and the financing of terrorism, and an effort to improve their compliance. The section has a safe harbor protection provisions that shields participants from litigation. Like I said, the purpose is to be able to improve compliance, to improve the quality of the information being submitted to FinCEN and then later accumulated and disseminated. And also I would note that that participation in the section 314B is voluntary. So this is something that is not required. Now, with regards to what are the benefits, it improves the information. It helps to gather information about customers and transactions relating to reportable events or activities. So by coming together, and I would note that associations are eligible, and I'll talk about more later, but oftentimes within states and within regions, we have tribal gaming operations that have come together and formed an association to share information. Well, this is the ideal forum for a 314B participation. And so it improves the information as casinos are able to gather information and share it with other casinos about illegal activity taking place, then it improves the information being submitted on SARS. Some of these transactions that are taking place and activities on the casino floor are not necessarily simple. Some of them are complex. Sometimes we have teams of individuals which will come in and work at casino for the purpose of laundering money. And I would also note that part of this money laundering also relates to the physical volume of cash. When large quantities of cash are being transported, particularly with drugs, then the denomination of currency is 10s and 20s typically. And a stack of $100 bills equal to $1 million is a little over 3 feet tall. So you can see if we're dealing with 20s, now we're looking at something that a stack that's like 12 feet. So reducing the volume of the currency, basically laundering up the bills, is one reason why the drug traffickers will visit casinos. And like I said, some of these transactions are kind of complex. So by sharing information with other casinos, other regulators, then sometimes these complex transactions can be better identified and understood. It helps to obtain a comprehensive picture of the customer's activity. Now, what this is referring to is sometimes we may see something that's happening on the casino floor and believe it's a reportable transaction. Whereas when we share that information with others, sometimes that we find out, well, there's an explanation for that. That's really not a criminal activity. There's a reason for it. I remember years ago, this fellow used to come into a casino and stuffed in his pocket was just rolls of $100 bills and rubber bands. And people thought that was suspicious. I guess it was. But anyway, the rest of the story is that this fellow was quite wealthy, and he had developed a software program that was that analyzed different automobile insurance coverage options, and it had been very successful. And he didn't trust banks. So there was a reasonable explanation for why he was coming into the casino with wads of cash. So one of the things, the benefits of Title 31 is to be able to share information, improve the quality of our SARs. It helps to alert other financial institutions of customers' activities. Case in point, I remember one time there was a team operating in California, and they were processing fraudulent or counterfeit payroll checks. And there was a group of them. They were traveling around one casino to another. And the casinos, when they have an association and they sharing information, and one comes in contact with illegal activity and they share it with others, then sometimes a concerted effort by a criminal group can be more readily identified. It helps to file more comprehensive SARs. Now, what this is really talking about is sometimes we will identify somebody who is involved in suspicious activities, but we don't know who they are. So we ought to have to file an unknown SAR. However, one of the benefits of these associations is being able to share this information. And sometimes we might not know who the person is, but another casino in our area might have experience with that same individual and will be able to provide us with the identifiers to help improve the quality of our SAR. It helps to detect money laundering and terrorist financing schemes. Now, one of the things that has been detected occurring in high intensity drug trafficking areas is where illegal payments, where the casinos are facilitating illegal payments. Now, I think this is going to become more prevalent once we get into more cashless gaming. But this is where to facilitate a payment to one person, a person might come in, like say they open up a wagering account to deposit money, and then they give the necessary information to another person to facilitate the withdrawal. This can be used to facilitate payments of an illegal nature. It helps to facilitate more comprehensive SAR reporting. So this is where we may have an activity that is linked to other activity. And when we're able to share this information with other gaming operations, then we can sometimes better identify that we're only part of a larger criminal activity. I remember years ago, there was a team of people came out of Florida, went up and out of Florida, but in Canada, went into Oregon, and they had detected a weakness in the US bank's policy, and they were taking advantage of it. They were going around hitting one casino or another and processing fraudulent credit card withdrawals. We were able to detect it after they hit the second casino and disseminated the information to the other casinos, and the people got caught. Okay, go. You can change it in. So the next part of the presidential risk is who is eligible. Well, all financial institutions, as identified by the BSA, are eligible to participate in 314B, Section B, information sharing agreement. The specific regulation referring to casinos and card clubs is the one that I've noted. And also with FinCEN has made several clarifying issues, several clarifying bulletins pertaining to this process. And the most recent one, which was just a few months ago, they tried to make it clear that an association of financial institutions can qualify. So, so who's eligible? Financial institutions are, and associations of financial institutions, made up of financial institutions, can qualify. Okay. Now, with regards to what information can be shared, I've noted in the slide here the reference on the code that identifies the suspected unlawful activities that if we have information of that this information can be shared. And as it relates to gaming operations, the two there that are most prevalent would be narcotics trafficking, human trafficking, and the money laundering associated therewith. Now, we also have fraudulent activities, passing counterfeit currency, fraudulent checks, and so on. One thing I would note here that it also includes internal fraudulent activities where we have internal theft, and the BSA, FinCEN has issued some pronouncements over the past couple of years relating to cyber fraud, and that is a reportable activity too. So anyway, this lists out the types of information that can be shared under that statute, the suspected unlawful activity statute. Okay. Now, financial institutions, it's important that you need not have specific information, nor must you come to a conclusion that there was an actual suspicious activity taking place. The only thing you need to have a suspicion or a reasonable basis to believe that we could have money laundering activity. So we can share information with other participants within our section 314B based on our belief that maybe something is happening. We may not know exactly what's going on, but oftentimes when conducting criminal investigations, it starts out with just that feeling that this just doesn't look right. And so what I think FinCEN has been trying to make clear is that we don't have to know for sure that we have a reportable event that has occurred. If we believe that this could be a reportable event, then we can share that information to our other participants that are in our group. And again, they may be able to provide us with information that would push us one way or the other. Here we go, yes, it is. Now we've got information that we can confirm it is in fact a reportable event or activity, or no, it's not. Now we have an explanation for it. Now, we can also share information on suspicious activities, even if we don't know what is being, we don't have the identity of what is being laundered. So this would pertain to non-cash transactions. The example of where somebody puts money into an account and then another person draws it out. There we're not dealing with with money laundering. We're dealing with illegal payments. So we can share information even if we are not sure what or how something is happening. So there's a lot of leeway granted to participants in the sharing of information with others that's part of our group. And all this, again, is intended to just improve the quality of the filings. Now, so, this first one here relates to the activities that do not constitute a transaction. So, if we have a person that attempts to perform a transaction but is unsuccessful, then that information can be shared too. If we have a person that is using another person to perpetuate a legal transaction, then that can be shared. So, like I said, there's anything that we believe might be related to money laundering or the financing of terrorism is eligible to be shared with other participants. This next slide identifies the kind of the types of data. We can share personal information, social security numbers, dates of birth, addresses with other financial institutions, other participants. We can share video recordings. Our communication doesn't necessarily have to be in writing. We can get into a room and just brainstorm ideas and verbally. However, this is one of the conditions relating to the Section 314B, is the information that is discussed by participants is confidential. So the people that are in the room having these kind of discussions need to know that the information they receive from another casino is confidential. They should not be sharing that with non-participants. So now, and let me mention this too, is that one of the reasons I think there's been some hesitancy with entering into these associations is the kind of a misconception, and that's been that people have thought that to be a participant, like there had to be like one person who was the participant. Well, actually, the participation pertains to the entity. So we can have an association of gaming commissions or a network of gaming commissions, and they come together and meet, and different people or multiple people from a participant may be involved. It doesn't have to be a named individual. It's a named entity. And as long as they understand that the confidentiality of the information and they adhere to it, then that is it. Multiple people can be involved from the same casino. Okay. Now, signing up or participating, becoming a participant in a Section 340B is really quite simple. The regulation that governs this process, I've noted, but essentially what you have to do is just register with FinCEN's secure information sharing system. It's very simple. If we're having an association or network that is going to be the vehicle by which these participants come together and share information, then that vehicle, such as an association of gaming commissions, must verify that all the participants have registered. It's really a very simple process. And that there must be information safeguards in place, which is really saying that the association must remind people that, okay, what's going to be talked about is confidential. We can't share this information. So it's really a quite simple process to sign up to be a Section 314B participant. Okay. Now, the types of information can be provided. Information is used to identify money laundering, terrorist activity. Information used to determine whether to engage in a transaction. Now, let me mention this. This relates to, we're all obligated to have customer due diligence procedures. And we're all obligated to identify our most valued players and have enhanced due diligence procedures, and which we put forth an effort to try to find out what's their source of income. Now, this information can be used by participants for the purpose of applying these due diligence procedures and coming to a conclusion: this person may not be suitable for us to be doing business with. So, one of FinCEN has levied some rather substantial penalties recently. Capital One, U.S. Bank, of course, Bank of America is always a target, and to activities by these large banks in which they become involved with people of unsavory nature. Capital One, and their most recent $390 million assessment, is a prime example of becoming involved with an organized crime family. So one of the things that this information can be used for is to help participants identify individuals which maybe they don't want to have a relationship with. The information is used to assist compliance. The better we are at identifying suspicious activities and reporting it, the less likely it is that we're going to have some adverse audit findings, should the IRS come and visit us. Now, the last item is kind of important, because this, being a 314B participant, enables those participants to file a joint SAR, so that if we have illegal activity occurring that we've detected at our casino, and another one that's in our group has experienced the same thing, the same individuals, we can come together and can file a joint SAR. So this is particularly helpful. One of the challenges that FinCEN faces is the aggregation of data, in which we have all this millions and millions of pieces of data that's coming in, and some of it's related. The challenge is sifting through it and matching it up and identifying the different pieces of data that are related to it. And you know, one of the reasons why this came out of the Patriot Act was that after 9/11 and the research and analysis that was done thereafter identified information that was available that signaled something was going to be happening, but it just was never linked together. So these joint SARs is a real opportunity to enhance the quality of the work of FinCEN of trying to bring together reportable data. Okay.
Well, and let me quickly mention the next, before we touch on the next slide. I think it's really as our gaming management, as our gaming practice, we do audits across the country, and we provide management consulting services across the country. And in many cases, we see where a casino, and especially in travel gaming, where many of these casinos are they feel like they're out on an island. I mean, probably many of you on this webinar experienced that, where, you're left with trying to figure out what to do with this regulation. You're left to figure out, okay, what's happening at your casino, is that normal, or is it just you, or is it happening in the area? A lot of times, properties don't know. And that's different in, the case in commercial gaming, and especially in Las Vegas, where only 3 companies pretty much control the entire strip. And so the information is shared quite efficiently. And so, this is something that, an opportunity to create that efficiency within tribal gaming, and that's ultimately geared towards protecting the industry as a whole. And certainly we see it where it's like, well, this property would have known about this particular activity if they just were communicating with the casino that's 30 miles down the road, relative to these items. So that's the kind of the real world, the real side of this, the benefits of this information sharing. So as we go into the next slide here, here's a few questions. I mean, many of you may have questions that we can ask or get to here in a second, but here's a few questions that I had that I wanted to bring up to Joe, and maybe this might provide some additional information or guidance. So Joe, the Department of Justice has issued guides to assess entities, compliance program, ethnic compliance program. How might a Section 314B alliance contribute to satisfying the assessment criteria? So maybe you speak to that.
Well, this Department of Justice assessment guide, to just kind of touch on what that is. If companies involved in illegal activity, and I would add that sometimes, notwithstanding our best efforts, bad things happen, and sometimes companies get caught up in doing something illegal, but the company's not a bad company. Sometimes good people make bad decisions. So anyway, this assessment tells the Department of Justice that it, in determining or recommending sentencing and penalties, it is permissible, in fact, they're told to do it, to evaluate the company's ethics and compliance culture. So if a company has a strong ethics and compliance program that is effective and so forth, and there's measurements that the Department of Justice uses there, then that can justify mitigating the penalties. So the 314B section, I think, is an opportunity to bring that in within our compliance program to assist us in better guarding our organization from becoming involved in and unwittingly becoming involved in illegal activities. So this is a component to that. One of the most difficult, there's like 5 criteria in this assessment process. One of them is probably the most difficult to satisfy, which is to demonstrate that the organization has an ongoing monitoring and improvement process to facilitate better compliance with their ethics, with their culture. So we have to be able to show over time how we have monitored our compliance with our culture and improved it. So this is one way we could do that. So there's a relationship here that I think is a close, favorable relationship that is worthy of taking advantage of.
And the second question is related to a publication. So this recent publication, Institute of Internal Auditors on Risk, identified a survey in which 90% of the board members considered crisis management extremely relevant to business continuity, but only 60% of the C-suite shared the same level of concern. How might this Section 314B mitigate crisis risk?
Well, the pandemic has demonstrated to us that things can happen that we never anticipated. We can have a crisis that came so far out of left field, we had no idea it was headed our way. And there's with those kinds of crisis events, there's not much that we can do to anticipate what was going to happen. However, within the scope of crisis management, one of the key concerns is the concept of change. And organizations, rapid change creates increased risk, which produces vulnerabilities. So managing change is an aspect of crisis management. And it's interesting, this percentage, because when we say board members are extremely concerned about crisis management, whereas the executives are much less concerned. So I'm not sure I understand why that's the case, but maybe if the executives have a false sense of confidence. I don't know, but as it relates to crisis management, the sharing of information of other entities within our general area can help us to identify risk that before they might become a crisis. So, like Adam mentioned, the strip. We've had some significant breaches of BSA compliance at Caesars, the Sands, in California, Artichoke Joe's, and which millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars of penalties have been assessed. But if there'd been more sharing of information amongst these entities on the strip, that might have been predicted or mitigated.
And this last one here, especially as it relates to travel gaming, this last one says here, information provided by FinCEN would indicate that participation in 314B programs is low. So why do you believe there's hesitancy to form such alliances, especially in the travel gaming industry?
Well, the past couple of directors of FinCEN have both spoken to the benefit of Section 314B and have tried to encourage financial institutions to participate in this program. Now, there's been minimal participation. And I think part of this is probably FinCEN's fault. That there's been some confusion about whether an association can come together of participants can come together and form an association to share information, such as a network of tribal gaming commissions. So there was some doubt as whether that was possible. There's been some concern about the safe harbor provision and its safeguard against personal information. So there's another issue that I think has worked to stifle this program, and it's more operational, and it relates to probably management of the casino concerned about marketing plans being shared with the competitors, or confidential information from operational side. I remember 27 years ago, when myself and another ED, we were in Oregon, we were going to put together an association, and all the gaming commissions and the surveillance managers, we were going to come together and meet once a quarter to discuss things of interest. And management initially of our casinos had a bit of heart failure because they were afraid that we were going to be possibly sharing information with with competitors. And so anyway, that proved all to be not of any concern. And the association worked to the great benefit of the participants. But I think that kind of thinking has hampered the 314B participations. However, I think it is much to the advantage of the participants. It is much to the advantage of the mission of FinCEN to combat crime. So that's my thoughts on that.
And so, you know, as we move to the next steps, you know, Joe, it sounds like, of course, one of the major things is to register for the 314 program with FinCEN, getting that done, and then taking the next steps from there and identifying who or geographically or what it might be as far as an alliance or a group of casinos and banks that potentially be an alliance. I mean, are there some next steps that us at REDW can assist in that process? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the pillars of compliance of the Bank Secrecy Act is the external audit and or the independent audit. Let me say that it's the independent audit. By and large, gaming operations, commercial and tribal, have looked to their independent auditors to come in, their external auditors to come in and perform this compliance audit. Now, the regulation does not specify the scope or the period associated with these audits, how that it should be determined on a risk base, but generally speaking, the audits are done on an annual basis, and the scope of the audit is defined by the scope of gaming and the breadth of financial transactions available to the patrons. As part of that process, whenever we have a 314B participant, we also look at the benefits that are being rendered to the casino, and if the casino is reaping a benefit from that participation, then we typically will note that in our audit reports that this is a favorable method of monitoring compliance. And if it is not being taken advantage of, then we'll make recommendations to how to possibly improve it. So yeah, to answer the question, whenever we have a 314B participant, then we will look to see how the client is benefiting from that, and if we can offer advice on how to enhance that, we will do so.
And you know, of course, potentially facilitate some discussions with other casinos and creating an alliance. I think that's important to move that process along. Especially as we move into this era of digital into our casinos. Putting you're going to see a huge spike in these electronic payments and transferring money from, just as it's been happening for a long time, as people loading up prepaid cards and then giving them to somebody else to cash out. I mean, that's the same type of thing is now going to be happening in the casino. And what due diligence, are we doing? That's a huge question. So,
yeah, I think the cashless environment, because of the operational benefits, the cost savings associated with that technology, it's kind of like ticket in, ticket out, and the transition from tokens. The benefit is so great that I believe it's just inevitable that we'll see that technology move through the industry over the next few years. And like you said, it will open up. We may not be dealing so much with physical cash, but it will open up other risk that will need to be anticipated and dealt with.
Well, that pretty much sums up our webinar. And so, you know, certainly kind of touching the surface on some of this is really just informational to put this on your horizon. And if you have questions for myself or for Joe, you know, please reach out. There's email addresses, phone numbers. You know, we definitely value the relationships we have in working with tribes across the country, so, and casinos across the country. So, Carla, I don't know if there was any like written questions from others, or
we do have a question in the Q&A box. What guidance do you have for ACH fraud?
Well, you know, that is oftentimes something that occurs in patterns, and that the casino will get hit with a breach of their credit card system, and then we won't have any problems with it for a while, and then they'll come back. And you know, this is something that can be of great value if it can be shared with others in our area, as to the number one, we had a breach, and two, here's how it happened, and maybe we might be able to save somebody else from being a victim. I mean, we're seeing some cyber frauds now taking place that are costing gaming operations in the millions, and there's little chance of recovery. So, you know, I see, you know, the ACH fraud is a risk, and the only thing that is necessary is for us to drop our guard and become a victim. So, you know, 314B is is the opportunity to share information. So if we can share information with others, then maybe we might be able to protect them from being a victim.
Okay. Well, good. Well, yeah, and I just saw the question there. So, well, it looks like that is it. So, please reach out. Anything, you guys have any questions or anything, and we're always available. So we definitely appreciate you all attending. We'll turn it back over to Carla.
All right. Yeah. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We hope you found the information valuable. And at about this time tomorrow, you'll receive an email with access to a recording of the webinar and a copy of the slides. So be sure to watch for that. And now as soon as the webinar ends, a quick online survey is going to pop up on your screen asking for your feedback, which we always appreciate. So thanks again. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and do stay safe, everyone. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.